It's the Q&A, and you've just delivered the last sentence of your pitch. The adrenaline is pumping, and now you've got to answer questions about those specific topics that are on their mind. And the Q&A can make even more impact on your audience than the pitch itself. I'm David Beckett, and I've coached thousands of professionals and hundreds of startups to answer questions from the board, management, and in pitch competitions. I've seen what makes the difference for the successful ones, doing some simple preparation. And by following these 6 tips that I'm going to share here, you'll make sure that you turn the Q&A into an opportunity to show knowledge of your field and prove your composure under pressure. Let's go straight to number 1. Listen to the last word of the question. Yeah, I know this seems obvious, but let's not forget the adrenaline is pumping and our brains are not really working 100%. We hear the first part of a question and we think to ourselves, oh, I know the answer to this one. And we jump in to answer quickly, feeling that that'll be positive. But there are 2 things that can go wrong in that situation. First, research shows interrupting is one of the most irritating communication habits, and you'll be surprised how often it happens. When you're one of the few who listens to the last word, you show respect for the person asking, and that makes you a more professional communicator. And second, the question they're asking might just be different from the one that you think it is. The last couple of words could change the meaning of the question. And if we cut them off before we've even heard the whole thing, well, we can't give the right answer. Take your time. Have the discipline to listen carefully to that last word that they say. That shows respect for the person asking and gives you time to process the question. Now you're ready for the next tip, something that more than 90% of people don't do. Number 2, take a moment before answering. And we all feel the pressure to have all the answers at our fingertips, and we hurry to give our answers straight away. But when you take a moment, just 1 second of silence to process properly what are they asking, you show calm and composure. And there's 3 other big benefits. First, you demonstrate to them, I'm taking your questions seriously. I'm thinking carefully about my response. Don't fill the silence with things like, oh, that's a great question, or thanks for asking that. Stay silent for 1 second. Process the question. Second, there's a good chance by doing this, you'll be able to come up with a simple structure for your answer. You could say, okay, there's 2 big things about this topic, or, well, there's 1 big answer to that question, and then you make your statements with clarity. And the third benefit is that it gives your brain an opportunity to get ahead of your speaking apparatus. That's your mouth and your voice. Your brain has time to work out, what am I going to say first? What next? And so on. That will mean you're less likely to ramble and you'll take a more measured and structured approach in your replies. All of this adds up to more clarity, more professionalism. Now, this next tip is an accelerator to prepare you for what can be the most difficult moments in the Q&A. Number 3. Write down the questions you really don't want to be asked. This one will guarantee you aren't caught out by a surprise subject. Let me share a story. A few years ago, at a pitch competition, which had a €100,000 prize, a startup that I hadn't coached was in the Q&A. A question was thrown at them, which was obviously about one of their weak points. How was it obvious? Well, because the founder answered, oh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question. Cue red face, uncontrolled ramble, blah, 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 and no $100,000 prize. All the best professionals understand they have weaknesses in their business, and they prepare to talk about those areas with planned statements and messages. Write down the most awkward questions that you've been asked. Map out the weakest areas of your project or your business, and say out loud some of the answers that you might give. Short, sharp, and to the point, ready to move on to the next topic. This way, you're ready for anything, and you'll be even better prepared with number 4. Never argue. Let's be honest. Sometimes you get asked something that makes you think, what are you talking about? This is irrelevant. But we need to remind ourselves, why do people ask questions? 2 reasons. 1, to get an answer, and 2, to look clever. Now, this is group dynamics and psychology on speed. Some people just love to be the clever one, asking that tricky question that in theory makes them look smart. If you argue with them or even call them out for making a non-relevant point, they will feel backed into a corner and battle to defend their position. Then you're in trouble. If a situation like this comes up, you can use a few different approaches and phrases to deflect the question, such as, interesting point. We haven't come across this topic, but we'll definitely look into it. Or, that might take some time to answer. It's a complicated point. Let's talk about this later. Or, honestly, I haven't come across this, but that's why I'm here, to learn. Let's cover this later. I'd really appreciate your advice. All of these responses are about avoiding conflict and moving on to the next point. Here's another tip that will help you avoid awkward moments. Number 5. Use weaknesses as learning opportunities. Strength! That's what we got to show, right? Yes, and not always. One quality that all managers and investors and board members are looking for is coachability. If a less developed part of your project or business is pinpointed, you'll be surprised at how powerful it is to say, honestly, that is one of the weaker points of this proposition. We have a plan to get to grips with it in the coming weeks. We'd love to get your advice on this later. You don't need to be strong on everything. You just need a plan to build that strength and an openness to guidance along the way. And if you want to go super ninja on preparation for Q&A, here's number 6. Write down the questions you really do want to be asked. Take the time to list up the topics you couldn't cover in your pitch. You got limited time after all. Which aspects of your project or business would you have spoken about if you had more time? If you consciously decide on 3 to 4 talking points, there's a great chance you'll be able to bridge the question to one of those points. That way, you lead the conversation where you want it to go, and you focus on your strengths. And that's it. Follow these 6 tips and you'll truly shine, because 95% of people don't bother to prepare for Q&A, and that means you can stand out as a true professional, and that means more chances of resources and investment. And what's one of the best ways to structure your answers? Using the power of 3, which is explained in this video here.